You're squinting at your laptop, half a project done. The cursor blinks. Instead, you scroll. Again. Not because you want to, but because tackling the next sentence feels like wading through molasses. Here's the truth. Almost every bit of advice on beating procrastination boils down to just buckle down. But when has that ever lasted longer than a day? We like to say, I'm lazy, like it's a character flaw, something rotten in you. But that's not the story the science tells. Dr. Tim Pychyl, a psychologist who's obsessed over procrastination for decades, found something else. It's emotion at the heart of all this. Not discipline, not laziness, feelings. We postpone the project not because we don't care, but because the thought of finishing it stirs up something uncomfortable. Fear that it won't be good enough. Anxiety about what comes next. I once heard a songwriter admit, sometimes she delays recording, not from laziness, but because both success and failure feel like standing on a ledge. If the song bombs, it's proof she's not good enough. But if it takes off, then what? Suddenly, everyone sees you. That's when procrastination slips in to shield you from having to test that fear. The guilt you feel? It's real, but it's not the whole picture. At first, putting things off is relief, a warm, quick escape. Your body unclenches just a bit. The guilt creeps in later, slow and heavy as dusk setting in. But here's the twist. The emotions behind procrastination aren't random self-sabotage. They're a nervous system's defense, protection that's clumsy, but well-intentioned. Dr. Pychyl says, when procrastination hits, notice the feeling you're dodging. It could be fear or a sense of not measuring up. That insight alone changes the conversation from just work harder to what am I really avoiding here? Maybe you pause and realize you're not a failure for putting things off. Maybe this is a signal, not evidence that you're broken, but a hint that something matters to you. And honestly, blaming yourself only doubles the pain. That spiral, shame, guilt, avoidance, feeds itself until the work you once cared about feels out of reach. But what if the next time you stall, you stopped asking, what's wrong with me? And started asking, what am I protecting myself from? Because sometimes the fear is telling you something useful. If paying attention gives you even a tiny bit of clarity, maybe those wasted hours aren't wasted at all. Maybe it's the beginning of a new relationship with your own mind. So, the next time you're staring at the screen, scrolling past your own unfinished project, remind yourself this. What looks like delay might just be a hidden kind of wisdom. There's more here, I think. I can almost feel it at the edge. But if this is what our minds are doing when we procrastinate, it's not war. It's a negotiation. Maybe, just maybe, that's how we break the cycle. But that's only the beginning. There's a twist no one expects. What if understanding this changes how you work forever? That's for next time. So here you are, laptop open, half-written document blinking back, and some quiet, raw pressure under your ribs. It's not laziness. It's almost like your body knows something you won't say out loud. I get that urge to scroll, swipe, refresh. It's embarrassing how quickly my fingers jump to distract me. Every notification, an escape hatch just when the work starts to matter. We talk about procrastination like a moral failure. Just grit your teeth, they say, crack a new planner, block your Wi-Fi, crush your willpower. But I've never met anyone who conquered this with a to-do list app and pure toughness. Tim Pychyl, the Canadian psychologist, he tracked it for years. His book, Solving the Procrastination Puzzle, is full of stories like this. And here's the twist. Procrastination is rarely just about laziness or disorganization. There's this phrase he uses, emotion regulation. That's the hidden script. When you avoid an important task, you're sidestepping the feelings it brings up. Fear, self-doubt, the worry that whatever you put out might just not be enough. I've heard artists talk about putting off finishing a painting for weeks because, oddly, finishing is terrifying. The moment it's done, it's exposed. People can judge you, and so can you. One writer told me she'll write and rewrite a single line for an hour. Not because she's lazy, she's fighting the terror that her finished story won't live up to the one in her head. The possible disappointment is sharper than the guilt of delay. When you put off the important stuff, you start to feel bad. The guilt creeps in. For me, it's heavy. Maybe it's more like tightness behind my eyes. You stare at the clock. You feel the chance slipping. Still, you don't move. Pychyl found something unexpected. When people avoid a task, they actually experience relief. It's brief, like a breath after holding it for too long. The cost comes later, but in the moment, avoidance feels like comfort. It hit me. Maybe my mind isn't self-sabotaging for fun. Maybe it's trying to take care of me in its flawed, short-term way. The guilt and shame stack up, though. It's easy to believe they'll motivate you to change. But honestly, every study I've read says they just add weight, making the work feel even more dangerous. Something Pychyl points out, most productivity advice skips this part. It gives you hacks, but none of them ask why the work feels so loaded in the first place. It's weird, but owning up to what you're protecting yourself from, it actually softens that grip. There's an awkward kind of self-compassion in admitting, yeah, this scares me, and that's human. Here's the reframe that finally knocked me sideways. What if procrastination isn't the enemy? What if the next time you notice yourself drifting, scrolling, bouncing off the work, you take it as a signal? Pause and check. What's so risky about this next step? What am I shielding myself from right now? Not as an accusation, but as honest curiosity. For me, just asking that question pops the bubble. And sometimes the answer is, yeah, I'm afraid I'll fall short. Or worse, afraid I'll actually do well and have to live up to it again. It doesn't always make sense, but it always rings true in my chest. This changes how I talk to myself. Not a drill sergeant barking orders, but almost a friend, figuring out the real story behind the delay. Because honestly, every big leap I've ever made, finishing a scary project, sending something out, speaking up, I'd put it off for ages first. The fear was always there, but so was this weird trust building underneath. What I wish I'd known sooner, working with yourself rather than against your own tides, unlocks more creativity than all the time tracking apps in the world. So when you catch yourself procrastinating next time, treat it with a little awe. You're witnessing years of hidden strategy, an ancient defense system built to keep you safe. Outdated maybe, but not pointless. You never really lose that edge of resistance, but now you can name it. That alone shifts everything. Most systems for beating procrastination are built on blame. They miss the chance to listen. What happens if you start hearing yourself differently? That's the bizarre liberation in all this. Procrastination's not a malfunction. It's a nervous internal memo, something here matters. So, next time a half-finished project stares back at you, try pausing. Curious instead of furious. There's probably something important hiding just underneath the urge to run away. That's where you stop the cycle. Not by force, but with this weird, resilient kind of honesty. Not cured, not clean and easy, but different. And maybe that's enough for now. Leave a little room for your next move. You don't need to finish everything today, but you're a little less lost when you know why you stopped.